It's a crazy town way too often. Now you blew it. You blew it. You blew it.
I did not, but go ahead.
And lost everything.
Wow.
So I have no one to champion and defend my issues.
But I would
Democracy in the
say
environment.
all of the wokeness that outraged you so much was Republican framing, was right-wing media framing.
Oh,
that
God.
I mean, again,
John,
yes,
that's
I
not
am
the
telling you
case.
this.
No.
I am. Yes, that
It's
is the
not
case.
framing.
That is the case.
I do
Bill
this
Maher.
I do this for a living.
Okay.
But I don't know. Sometimes people say things that trigger me.
Uh-huh.
And of course, we just had the election, and I feel like my conscience is very clear. I warned everybody about Trump, and then I warned them about what would get him reelected, which was stupid wokeness, which is what got him reelected.
So, Bill Maher sat down with actor Jon Cryer, and the interview was pure, unfiltered cringe. At one point, Maher practically threw his hands up because Cryer's arguments were so astonishingly disconnected from reality that even he looked uncomfortable. And this is Bill Maher we're talking about, a guy who regularly dismantles celebrity opinions. The entire exchange perfectly illustrates what Ricky Gervais has been saying for years. Celebrities should stay out of politics. So if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we're about to watch a masterclass in public embarrassment unfold in real time.
The whole country, even unless you're like stupid woke, I hope you're not, but you know, it is Hollywood.
Somewhat stupidly woke.
Okay. The whole country was like, I mean, I think the biggest issue for the election, one of the biggest ones, was Democrats pointlessly, totally just punted on immigration and let anybody who wanted to walk in for 3.5 years did. And, you know.
Well, I think they would probably disagree. The people walking in probably felt like it was a little harder.
No, actually, there's a great 60 Minutes piece on it where the border, I mean, you don't get 8 million people here by making it difficult. But you see they're walking through and the border guys are just watching them do it. They're just watching them walk past. You never saw that?
I did not see that.
See, that doesn't get in the liberal media. That's the problem, is the bubbles we live in.
Jon Cryer openly admits that he's somewhat woke. Honestly, if I were Bill Maher, I might have ended the interview right there. Curtain down, conversation over. Because the arguments Cryer goes on to make aren't just weak, they're completely detached from reality. We all know, and the statistics reflect it, that the southern border was largely overwhelmed during the Biden administration, especially after Kamala Harris was assigned responsibility for addressing the issue, and critics argue little changed. Reports indicate that roughly 8 million people crossed the border during that period. 8 million. That's larger than the population of many nations. Yet here is Jon Cryer, comfortably seated in his Hollywood bubble, insisting the border was never truly porous. Not confused, not mistaken, flatly denying it. It's the kind of deliberate blindness that makes celebrity political commentary so frustrating to watch.
We're a nation of immigrants, and we need immigrants.
There you go.
But most Americans felt, including lots of Democrats and people of color, and he won the Latino vote by half. You know, come on, man. Like, at a certain point, everybody was around the idea that, okay, immigration, fine, but it has to be somewhat orderly, and not anyone.
Yes, and again,
and asylum had a certain specific meaning, which went up in the air. They overcorrected.
You could be right, I don't know.
Maher is absolutely right to highlight this issue, and it's a point that rarely receives the attention it deserves. The word asylum once carried significant meaning. It represented a solemn commitment to individuals fleeing genuine persecution, political dissidents, imprisoned journalists, activists, and others whose lives were endangered because they challenged powerful institutions. That was the original purpose. But critics argue that under Biden and Harris, the definition expanded so dramatically that it became almost unrecognizable, creating a pathway used by millions. What's remarkable is that even Cryer acknowledges the numbers. He openly concedes that more people entered the country during Biden's presidency than under any recent administration. Yet he refuses to address the implications, pressure on public services, local communities, and government resources. Admitting the facts while dismissing the consequences isn't nuance. It's intellectual dishonesty disguised as compassion.
Well, 60 Minutes, arguably, is the liberal media. So, I don't think that that's...
Right, but 60 Minutes is still a show that I think, you know, can, not as consistent as it used to, but they do things like that. They also did a great piece some years ago about a woman in London who was in the Muslim neighborhoods, and, you know, they're screaming at her because she's wearing a skirt and stuff like that. And, you know, the point of it was, you know, there are places in Western civilizations that are like run not by Western standards. And that doesn't mean they're just different.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there are cultural enclaves everywhere. You know,
right, but we should agree that women should be able to wear what they want.
Yes.
If you don't agree with that, then you're not a liberal to begin with.
The discussion then turns to women's rights, and somehow Cryer appears even less informed on this topic than he was on immigration. Maher's point is direct and difficult to misinterpret for anyone paying attention. These are not simply newcomers arriving and instantly embracing every aspect of Western liberal culture. Many arrive with deeply rooted cultural beliefs, and too often the expectation is not that they adapt, but that society adjusts around them. Maher argues that women frequently bear the consequences of that reality. We have already seen concerns raised in parts of Western Europe, including areas of France, Germany, and Sweden, where some women report changing how they dress or behave in certain neighborhoods to avoid harassment. That is the concern Maher is trying to address when discussing large-scale migration and integration. But according to Cryer, apparently everything is working perfectly.
Wife live in Gaza or any place where... No, well, I mean before...
war-torn strip of desert?
No, even before, the war, you know, where she would have to cover up.
Well, again, that's not. I don't live there. It's not my culture. You know.
And you won't judge it.
I'm not going to judge it. No. But again, this is not
crazy woke to me.
Okay.
That's where it all went off the rails. When we became so tolerant that we tolerate intolerance. I mean, you would never allow something like that to happen in this country. If they proposed a law tomorrow at the LA City Council, women have to cover their face when they go out. I assume you'd be against.
Maher delivers what may be the strongest point of the entire interview here, and it's a challenge that many activists struggle to answer convincingly. Tolerating intolerance is not a progressive value, it is a contradiction. Around the world, there are governments and extremist ideologies that openly restrict women's rights through limitations on education, movement, personal freedom, and equal treatment. Yet many of the same people who proudly champion feminism and equality often become noticeably quieter when those practices originate from cultures they are hesitant to criticize. There are no viral campaigns, no widespread outrage, and often very little public condemnation. They'll fiercely attack a conservative politician over an insensitive remark, while remaining silent about systems that severely limit women's freedoms. That inconsistency is exactly what Maher is pointing out, and it's a reality that Cryer seems unwilling to confront.
No, sometimes people say things that trigger me, and of course we just had the election, and I feel like my conscience is very clear. I warned everybody about Trump, and then I warned them about what would get him reelected, which was stupid wokeness, which is what got him reelected. So I feel my conscience is very clear that I told you, and I told you, and I told you, and I lost fans for it. You know, lots of the super woke, that like I'm not woke enough for them. Yeah, but like, I think I had it right. Like that kind of stuff is what lost the election for the Democrats. It's in all.
Maybe part of it. I don't know.
And here's the bigger picture. Maher spent years warning the Democratic Party that its increasingly woke messaging was pushing away ordinary voters. He repeatedly argued that the party was losing touch with people outside its activist circles. Those warnings were largely ignored. The election results did not shock anyone who had been paying attention. Many voters, including longtime Democrats, grew frustrated with endless debates surrounding gender ideology in schools, calls to defund the police, border policy concerns, and a culture of political correctness that left many feeling alienated in their own country. They weren't simply voting against Trump's opponents. They were rejecting what they viewed as an entire political culture. What is truly remarkable, however, is how little appears to have changed. Jon Cryer sitting across from Maher and repeating many of the same disconnected talking points serves as a perfect example. Rather than reassessing its approach, the party often seems determined to continue speaking to a shrinking audience while convincing itself nothing